So I'm watching Meet the Press, and David Gregory asked Tom Brokaw this big question.
The issue of the debt, the issue of taxes, I think it's important to get to one of the big issues here. We have got to, in these final few weeks, try to reach some resolution about this revenue issue. Whether we raise revenue to deal with the debt, because whether it's Medicare or whether it's dealing with the debt level at the level that it's at, without agreement on both sides, we're not going to be able to tackle some of these more difficult issues, Tom.
What an astute observation by David Gregory, huh? Unless we work together to solve some of these problems, we're never going to get ever to solve them.
That was right. That was some ass-kicking conventional wisdom, boy.
So he just outlines the problem. Hey, we have a debt problem, and unless they work together, they won't solve it, huh, Mr. Brokaw? And and what a better guy to ask about our nation's problems, because Tom Brokaw has a deep understanding of the country after years of flying over it in his private jet.
You know what they need to...
you don't think that Tom Brokaw... I think Tom Brokaw understands how hard life can be for millions of Americans who've never anchored the NBC Nightly News. I do. What do you want to say, David?
That we are incapable of having a discussion about the debt because the news media is bought and sold and owned by the hedge funds. The IMF... the International Monetary Fund, which is responsible for all the pain and suffering in Latin America, even the IMF issued a report this week that says austerity doesn't work.
Really?
Yes. The IMF says that what's going on in Europe is going to get worse because of the austerity. The IMF is saying you have to raise taxes. Bloomberg had an editorial this week that said you cannot dig your way out of this debt unless you raise taxes. There is not a legitimate economist in the world that you cannot find a legitimate economist to tell you that tax cuts are the solution to debt and our economy.
I can name one. Grover Norquist.
Yeah, he's not a legitimate
economist.
He knows so much. Don't run down Grover Norquist.
So they're not having – so instead of putting on these pundits on Meet the Press – why don't you get some legitimate economists and explain how Reagan racked up debt by cutting taxes, how Bush racked up debt by cutting taxes?
Mm-hmm. Every once in a while.
But that would be partisan if they did
Every once in a while, George Snuffleupagus has Paul Krugman on, and then they have to balance him out by having on Ann Coulter and George Will and Jake Tapper.
Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman from the New York Times, who teaches economics at Princeton, with Ann Coulter, who has what?
Nothing.
Pretty hair.
Right, she has pretty hair. So here's what Tom Brokaw's response is. By the way, here he goes.
You know, I think that both campaigns have failed to say to the American public.
Oh, right. So first of all, you start out with a false equivalency. That's my favorite thing. Both sides do it. Both sides do it.
You know, I think that both campaigns have failed to say to the American public.
Both sides do it. Both sides do it. Just like you remember Luke Russer. That's his mantra. Yeah. Both sides do it.
Which is weird because Tom Brokaw can't even talk out of both sides of his mouth. Let me do that again and edit it. Tom Brokaw is incapable of talking out of both sides of his mouth, so he's jealous of Mitt Romney.
That's why Tom Brokaw's wife would get into three ways with him because he always had a false equivalency between the two women.
You know, I think that both campaigns have failed to say to the American public, this is going to be hard.
And by hard, he means hard on you, not Tom Brokaw or any of his friends. He means hard on working people who count on Social Security and Medicare, not people who count on stock options in a rigged economy. That's who he means it's going to be hard for. Not hard for any of us TV icons, of course. I mean hard for all you schmucks who thought you could retire before you're 80. That's who it's going to be hard on, not hard on him. Yeah, that's Tom. Okay, he's got more to say. Here's Tom Brokaw.
They've got a level with the American people about everyone's going to have to give something, and there's going to have to be some revenue raised at some point.
Yeah. Everybody's going to have to give something. On the bright side, Tom Brokaw and none of his millionaire friends will feel a goddamn thing. Yeah, everybody's going to have to give. Tom Brokaw's going to have to give. What are you going to sacrifice, Tom Brokaw? What exactly are you going to sacrifice? Are you going to give up? Are you going to spend 15 cents more on your kerchiefs?
The letter R. He's giving up the letter R.
I'm Tom Brokaw. I'm tuning in for Henry.
And by the way, the only thing Tom Brokaw is qualified to talk about is how to really use a teleprompter effectively.
Yes.
That guy doesn't know anything.
What
He's
I like
not
about
a journalist, he's a newsreader.
You can tell he's a good journalist because he got an award from a military institution. You know how they love reporters, the military, don't they? That's how you can tell he's a good muckraker. Just like you can tell the guys who are the best FBI agents, they're the ones that get awards from the mafia.
Well, you know what? I'll say this for him. In the mid-'90s, he broke the story of the invasion of Normandy.
He was reporting live from the deck of the Achille Laurel.
No, you're right, Frank. We didn't know that our fathers were the greatest generation until he told us, and he wrote a book and made millions off it.
Yeah, instead of writing a book he was out kissing the ass of America instead of writing a book called, "Hey, this war is bullshit and the banks are about to fuck everyone." Instead of doing that, he was writing another book that kissed our ass. Hey, you know what, Tom? Maybe you could write your next book on the back of your kerchief. Maybe you could. That's why you can tell he's a good newsman. When are the newsmen going to start wearing ascots? That's my question, because that's why I really like my. So he's got more to say.
I talked to a lot of major business leaders who want Romney to get elected.
He talks to a lot. Did you hear? He talks to a lot of major. So this is supposed to be him showing, look, I'm in the know. I'm so glad that Tom Brokaw keeps polling the 1%.
He's got his finger on the penis of all the major business
Thank
leaders.
God he's consulting the people who smashed our economy to smithereens out of nothing more than unbridled greed.
And one of those people who I guarantee you who he's talked to is his good friend
Jack Welch.
Yes, who used to be his boss, and who he's very close with.
Yes, I'm sure.
And who's now a crazy budget truther now.
So the guys.
Did you see Orwell rolls over in his grave? The documentary about the First Amendment and the state of the media. They have facts that when Jack Welch was running GE in 2000 on Election Day, he got on the phone and ordered Brokaw to call the election for Bush. Yes, and Brokaw did, to create that illusion that Bush won, so that they could say the votes were counted and Bush won. And,
really?
Yes, and Welch was smart enough to know that if you create the illusion and call it early, people were going to think, well, Bush won and now Al Gore's being petulant.
Yes.
Orwell rolls over in his grave. Great documentary.
And let me tell you,
it's no Greatest Generation.
It's just weird that he he says it like as if he's got some inside information. I talked to the business owners who want Mitt Romney to win. Quit talking to those guys. They're the ones who crashed our economy. Hey, you know what, Tom? That's great. I mean, I would love to hear what Gilligan and the skipper's ideas are on how to get us off the island. Are they ever going to fix our boat? That's what he. Okay, so he's got more to say. Hang on.
But almost to a man and a woman, they say, but you know what, we're going to have to pay some more taxes in our category. What they want to do, however, is to benchmark them against spending cuts. So
sure, when he means benchmarks against spending cuts, again, he means that he's going to pay 10 cents more for a kerchief while you don't get to have health care when you retire. That's what he's talking about. Those are those benchmarks. And
we're not the country's not broke.
The country
Corporate
is not
America
broke.
is sitting on $2 trillion in cash.
That's an old statistic. It might be 3 by now.
No, it's $2 trillion.
$2 trillion that the corporations are sitting on $2 trillion, and they say that they just need confidence before they invest it. And I say if $2 trillion doesn't give you confidence, maybe try dance lessons.
By the way, they're holding the nation hostage. They're basically saying, like, once you put Romney in, we'll release this money.
Yes.
That's
They're not releasing. They're never
releasing that money.
That's going overseas. That money, they're never going to spend it. And here's the thing. 2/3 of our economy is consumer-based. It's what we buy, not what they sell us. So if they don't like America, if GE doesn't like America, get out.
Right.
Get out. Go set up. You're already out of the country.
Right.
Go. Leave.
Yeah.
We'll be fine without these multinationals. We don't need them.
Do what France just did.
What did they just do?
I think the corporations are required to stay. They can leave. The heads of the corporations can leave, but their businesses have to stay.
No, they can leave, but they have to keep their heads in France. You're free to go.
I like what Iceland did. They put their bankers in jail, and their economy's recovering. Hang on.
Governor McDonald.
Okay, so here's Tom Brokaw's last thing.
There's going to have to be a combination in their judgment. And these are private business leaders who run big companies and entrepreneurial people. And to a man and a woman, they're saying, I can afford to pay a little more if I think it's going to go for the right formulation about getting spending and tax revenue back in line.
Yeah, so when he's saying they're all for paying more money, as long as it isn't thrown away by making life better for everybody. That's what they're upset. Go ahead, Frank.
I'm incredibly, unbelievably rich, and I'm willing to pay my fair share, but under certain conditions.
Right.
Under certain conditions, right. As long as
I'm not just going to spend my money to help the country. I'm just not going to contribute a fair share without some poorer people suffering.
Yeah, like what they mean is that they're going to kick in a little more to pay for the wars that they wanted if we keep firing teachers, cops, and firemen. That's what they mean.
Right.
Right.